Hey there, good morning. Welcome to the JeepSolid garage. So today we're going to be going over some issues I'm having with my 2012 Jeep Wrangler JK. My daughter was driving it the other day and she said, Dad, it's starting to overheat. The temperature was up. I drove it a little bit today and the temperature is definitely running higher than it should be. So I'm going to run you through the process of troubleshooting that, looking at the thermostat, the water pump, leaks, fluid level, all kinds of stuff to help narrow it down to what I think the issue is. So let's get started. So the first thing I do, and a good habit for just any vehicle owner, is just always kind of be peeking underneath your vehicle. You know, when you park somewhere, you walk away, you pull away from a spot, watch for any drips. This has not had any drips. Nothing is leaking that I can tell. So as I mentioned, I did drive it earlier. It has cooled off now, so I can go ahead and check our fluid levels. And as I'm checking fluid levels, I'm also looking for leaks just to make sure nothing is wet that shouldn't be. Here's our engine coolant reservoir. And yes, this is low. So that's my first suspicious thing. Let's pop the cap here, and this is cool now. Do not open your radiator, your cap here when it is hot. You'll burn yourself, have issues. There is coolant in here, but honestly, I think I might have some air in my system. If you have air in your system, it can definitely cause a lot of weird issues. You can get hot pockets, air pockets, causing hot areas. So that is definitely something we're going to be looking at here. And with my fluid level being a little low, I definitely want to take a good look for any leaks. I'm trying to figure out, why would the level be low? Do I have a leaking hose? Is my water pump leaking? Or do we have a head gasket issue that is leaking fluid out of the exhaust? My upper and lower radiator hoses, neither one of them show any sign of, excessive wear, bulging, leaking. I don't see any signs of leakage there. But when I investigate underneath, ooh, aha, I see signs of fluid. This, I'm really surprised I didn't see this dripping. I see enough fluid there that it feels like it should be dripping. It might only be leaking when it gets nice and hot. So very curious, clearly there is a little bit of fluid up here, but nothing. I haven't seen any drips, so that really surprises me. Maybe I don't have as keen of an eye watching for leaks as I thought. And that just goes to show why you need to take yourself a good flashlight and give it a good inspection. I gave a quick inspection of this upper radiator hose here. Didn't see anything obvious, but then when I take my flashlight and start digging farther, yeah, I can see a little drippage has been happening. So honestly, I'm glad to see that, because that'll be a fairly easy fix. Just replace this upper radiator hose, put some new coolant in, but I'm gonna take you guys through diagnosing some of those other issues, like if it could be your thermostat or water pump, or there's also a big issue with the radiators. And on this hose, I'm going as far as taking a little mirror and a flashlight, because I wanna make sure you can have a leak right along the seam of your radiator. And it can come up, from as high as this. So I do see a little spot, a little tiny spot of dampness there, but that's all it would take from this hose. I just want to make sure it's this hose and not the seam of the radiator. So I'm fairly confident it's this hose that's leaking, but actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a little coolant to the reservoir, top off the radiator, and I'm going to start it up, heat it up, and actually watch for an actual drip right there, just to double check that it actually is the hose, that it's not the seam of the radiator, because I've run into that before where it looks like a hose is leaking, but nope, it's actually a little crack in the radiator. So, but let's move on to diagnosing some of the other issues. And another area to check for leaks is at your water pump. It's a little difficult to see from the top here, so let's go underneath. And underneath, our lower radiator hose is right here. We can follow that over to the water pump, which is right up here. Right up there. And we're looking for any leakage from there as well. I don't see any leaking here. But another thing is your water pump can fail. It can just quit working as well. You'll usually hear like a grinding sound or a loud noise from that as well, a squealing or some type of noise from your water pump. The other thing is the belt. Make sure your belt is tight, that your belt's not slipping. If the belt is slipping, then your water pump's not spinning and moving that fluid around to keep your engine cool. There's a little better shot of the water pump up there. It's kind of hard to see behind all the tie rods, drag links, and everything here. So, yep, water pump has a very important job. Moving the fluid around, keep the engine cool. If your water pump's not working, you got issues. And another way to check further that your water pump is working, start your engine up. Once it gets up to operating temperature, start it initially with it cool, with the cap off of your radiator. And then as the engine warms up, you should initially not see fluid movement here because the thermostat isn't open yet. So you shouldn't see fluid really moving through here, circling through here. After the thermostat opens up though and your engine's warmed up, you should start to see a little bit of movement in the fluid right here. And that movement of the fluid shows you that your water pump is circulating the fluid. And another reason your Jeep could be overheating is your electric fan isn't kicking on, adding that additional airflow. When you're stopped, just idling, you're not getting that additional airflow. Your electric fan's not working for some reason, but sure to check that. And because my Jeep was overheating, getting too hot, I heard my fan kicking on plenty, so I know that's not my issue. And because we're talking about fans and airflow, let's talk about obstructions. How did you just add a big winch, a cover, something in the front that's going to interfere with the airflow? That can affect your temperature a bit. I haven't had any issues with adding this winch, this bumper, these lights. I still have a fair amount of open space, so my overheating issue has just been recently, not since the addition of any of this stuff, so I don't think it's obstruction. But we also need to make sure that our fins, all the fins on our radiator are clean. You know, that's kind of funny. I just caught myself like explaining, I don't think my issue, like, well, yeah, I think we know what the issue is. I think your issue is your leaking radiator hose and being low on fluid. It's like, duh. But I had a whole list of things I wanted to cover in this video, so I'm kind of going through that list. But then I caught myself, I don't think this is my issue. Oh, yeah, I know, your issue's right here. And on the issue of obstructions, have you recently gone mudding and your radiator is just caked with mud? Mine is actually fairly clean, but if you're full of mud, you just got back from wheeling, now you're having overheating issues, definitely something to check. Take a good pressure washer, go to the car wash, rinse this out, get it all nice and clean. And because I'm on the subject of looking at reasons your Jeep would be overheating because of the radiator, let's talk about the big one that Chrysler had. These Jeeps 2012 through 2017, there's actually a class action lawsuit against Chrysler because of these radiators getting plugged up. During the casting of the engine, they use a sand to cast the engine, not getting all that sand out when they build the Jeep, and some of that sand getting washed downstream to the radiator, plugging up your heater core, causing other issues. So you could have an issue of your radiator is just plugged up from some of the casting material, the casting sand. So if you're not getting good water flow, that could be your issue. A lot of Jeep owners with these 2012 through 17 JKs have replaced their radiators because of that issue. The next issue I want to talk about, a potential issue of overheating, is your thermostat is not working properly. Your thermostat's not opening up, allowing coolant to run through your radiator to cool it down. So the thermostat's designed to be closed initially at startup so that your engine can warm up to nice operating temperature. There is a little bit of coolant going through your heater core though, but it stops right there. After your engine gets up to warming temperature, that thermostat opens up, allowing coolant to go through your radiator. That's what keeps your engine at that proper operating temperature. If your thermostat is stuck closed, it could cause your engine to overheat, not allowing it to cool down with the radiator here. So we've got a fairly easy way to check that that thermostat is opening. To check that that thermostat is opening properly when it's supposed to, we're going to start with the engine cold. And these two hoses back here are your heater core. This one here is your return hose from your radiator. We're going to start with the engine cold, and then as it warms up, you should feel these two hoses back here get hot before this one does. This one should stay fairly cool until that thermostat opens up when your engine is at operating temperature. When that thermostat opens up, then you're going to get coolant flowing through here, and this hose should warm up. But your heater cores should warm up first, then this one. If this one never warms up, you never really feel that this gets hot, you could have a thermostat that's stuck closed or not opening all the way, and your issue could be with your thermostat. Now I'm going to add some coolant to my Jeep, and I've got it actually up on a block there so that the driver rear side is down low, passenger front is up high. And the reason for that is I'm going to kind of burp the system because I've got a little bit of air in my system. I'm going to add some fluid to the overflow reservoir, top off the radiator there. Put the cap on, I'm going to start it up, and I'm going to watch for a further leak right there. But let's talk about coolants real quick. On these Jeeps, there are two different kinds of coolants. There is HOAT, H-O-A-T, which is more of a purple color, or no, more of an orange. This looks kind of pinkish to me. And then there's the oat, which is more of that purple color. This is a thicker container, so it looks denser, but right there you can see it's pretty purple. And these coolants do not mix. If you mix these, it'll turn into like a sludge and it can plug up your system as well. So I've got the correct HOAT coolant for my Jeep, and it does not come, these bottles were not pre-diluted, so I diluted this 50-50. That's why I got it in a funny little bottle. And I'm gonna top this off, start the Jeep up, get it hot, and see if I can 100% confirm that my leak is from that radiator hose. So I've topped it off, filled up the fluid reservoir here. I'm just gonna kind of watch for some air bubbles coming out here, see if I can burp the system a little bit. And of course I'm gonna watch this radiator hose. It might not start leaking until I get my cap back on over there and the system gets pressurized. But right now I just want to burp the system, make sure it's full of fluid. I think my thermostat is closed because these heater core hoses back here are getting pretty warm. This hose right here, still pretty cool. Now I'm just waiting for the system to burp and get up to operating temperature. All right, my coolant is full, the system's burped. And I don't know, I'm just not 100% convinced this is my leak, because I'm seeing, I mean, there's a little bit of sweat there, a little bit of moisture, but not a drip. And for the amount of coolant I see underneath, I'm just not 100% convinced that I don't also have a leak on the seam of the radiator there. So I might be doing a radiator on this as well. I'm gonna add some more fluid to it, keep topping it off for a bit, do further investigation once it's completely dry. I'll probably hose it off, take it for a drive, get it all nice and good and hot. Come back, look a little bit more at that radiator hose and that seam along the edge of the radiator. But those are some of the things I look for when my Jeep starts overheating. If you have tips or tricks, things I didn't cover, leave a comment down below, help others out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Watch my next video right up here and have a good day.